Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. And today I have with me City Manager Summer Moore.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I love that you come every month.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
I love that you do this transparent, let me tell you all the things, just open book. I appreciate your partnership, and I think it is very valuable for the community. And we always have comments, and we always have the people watch us and come up to me and say, I saw you in summer. And, so I think it's really great. So I appreciate you.
No, thank you for the platform to be able to do this, because I think so much now, so many times we've moved away from local news media. So we don't have newspapers. So many of our viewers rely on social media, or at least this gives another platform for them to be able to see what's going on in their local government, because they're the driving force behind the decisions being made.
Yep. I could not agree more. People focus so much on federal or even state. And something I've learned from being in this role is that it's so much more affected by who's in your local government making decisions on the city and county levels. So I'm really thankful to have the partnership, but the relationship, so that I can be that vessel for people to know things. And I pride myself on how much things have grown with the chamber and the city. And every once in a while, there's backlash to anything that you do, or anything that I do, or anything that our organizations do. But we just have to chin up and know that we're working as hard as we can work every day of the week.
Absolutely.
So
you're absolutely right.
I'm so excited, because I know for you, the timing is near for you to be done with budget for this year.
Yes. And I appreciate that, because I know a lot of times with my schedule and some of our other teammates' schedule, this time of year is a little hectic for us. So unfortunately, do miss some ribbon cuttings. We miss, some of our meetings have to get posted out because we're trying to meet our deadlines. But we're really excited for budget this year. Budget starts for us in January, as we've talked before, setting that calendar. So where we're at in our calendar process is, we had our meeting with City Council, a budget retreat back, I believe it was April 20th or 22nd. The dates seem to run together. We had the budget retreat, a second one with them at that time. So that's given us a couple weeks to kind of take back their feedback, what they were able to see with expenditures and revenues and requests. Where can we go with it now? So the last couple weeks has been a balancing act, literally a balancing act. We've got some really great department heads that really went above and beyond this year. One of the things are just so uncertain right now in the world with just the cost of things. So in my budget instructions to the department heads was, we need to be as conservative as possible, just because we do not know what the cost of chemicals could be for our water and sewer plants, what the cost of just some basic necessities we need to be able to provide services to the city are. So they did an exceptional job this year in really holding budget to the line. There were very few increases that were requested, and a lot of those were contractual increases where we have no choice, whether it's a provider through our phone system at City Hall. They are going up on those contracts, so that's kind of hard to get out of those because you sign agreements with them. But the processes went really, really smoothly, and that credit goes to those department heads. They know what it takes to run their departments in an effective, efficient, and cost-effective manner to provide services to all the residents and citizens that visit Reidsville. So our budget is due on Tuesday. We've crafted our message. I've been working on that. Chris Phillips, who's our Assistant City Manager and Finance Director, and his department have done a wonderful job in compiling everything as far as financial data to get that ready to go. So at our council meeting on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we will present the budget to council. Budget will also be able to be viewed in the public library and a copy at City Hall. So anyone who's interested in that, please stop by and see us. One of the things that I've been really big on when I got here was trying to come up with a way to post our budget online. And I know that the city with Sherelle Williams and her department. She's over our IT. They're working really hard to revamp our website to make it more user-friendly because, again, transparency. The more we can get out there so people can understand what's being requested, the better, because people need to understand what it takes to provide these services to residents. So hoping to have that at some point where budget can be online in the future, where you don't have to come to the library or come to City Hall and inspect it. Once we deliver it to council, I'll be given a PowerPoint. My PowerPoint will be available if anyone wants to see it Tuesday night when I present it. And then council has a little over a week to look through the entire budget. They've kind of got a preview from their last budget work session, but this is the budget in its entirety. They will get that presented to them, and then they will have their second budget work session on Monday, May the 19th. And again, those meetings are open to the public, so anyone from the public, please come out. If you've got questions or you want to voice a concern, please come out. May 19th, that meeting will actually be at the Carriage House because it'll be more of a presentation style. But the public hearing, once they have that given to them May 19th, we do have a public hearing scheduled at City Hall at our June, I have to double check that date, but it's either June 9th or 10th. I'm pretty sure it's June 10th this year. It'll be at 6 o'clock at City Hall, and that is the opportunity for anyone from the public to come and decide if they have questions or if they want to voice any concerns to council. And then once that's done, hopefully the budget will either be approved or denied. If it's approved, then it will become effective July 1st of 2025. If it's denied, then we go back to the drawing board and we'll come back with a budget that council and the community agree on. So we're really excited to get that phase to us. There's some great things in the budget that I'd love for us to be able to talk about on the show. We've got some great improvements continuing at Lake Reidsville. That's really, really good. I know you've probably got some feedback on some of those improvements at Lake Reidsville.
Yeah, so one of the really cool things, I was able to take Leadership Rockingham out there on, the April. So it would have been the second Wednesday in April. And I was able to tell them there actually happened to be some RV people and some camp people in that group. And they were just like so excited to find out. And we've talked about this before. I mean, Lake Reidsville is just like a hidden gem, and we're not utilizing it in all the ways. And so I am thrilled to see some of the improvements and things that are being done, from the zip line to the pillow pad to, working through some of these improvements on the campgrounds. And like to see, when we were out there, there were already some that were done, the hard surfaces. So I've just heard a lot of great feedback about it, and I think it's going to be awesome.
So, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that. So that, all that work has been done internally by our public works staff, which is really impressive because a lot of that work would have had to have been contracted out. So we're really excited for that unveiling. We finishing up, we're paving out there now, the loop. So I'd encourage anyone, go out there, check it out. We've got all kinds of great amenities. So that's kind of the phase one. So a continuation of phase one for this upcoming budget year, we want to look at maybe putting a pickleball court out there, maybe utilizing, we've noticed that a lot of times the basketball court isn't utilized. So we thought about maybe putting that into a pickleball court, something that could be a versatile court. We've also talked about getting a master plan to see where we could maybe open up some additional campsites and possibly look at putting some small cabin rentals out there. So that's kind of what we're really looking forward to for this second year of doing improvements at Lake Reidsville. And all this funding is possible still because of American Rescue funds. All of that funding has come from the COVID relief funding. That funding had to be committed by December of 2024, and that's where council decided to use the last of the funding to go to Lake Reidsville to make improvements. The funding has to be spent by the end of 2026. So we still have some time this year and next year to make some improvements out there. So we're just really excited for those improvements. And one of the things that's come up from the discussion at Lake Reidsville is, I know since I got here, you probably get it all the time, is why can't we swim at Lake Reidsville?
So glad you just said that, because that was going to be my follow-up question.
And, that is something we're continuing to explore. One of the biggest reasons that you cannot swim at Lake Reidsville is because it's a water drinking source. And I know that some of our listeners and viewers, and they have very good points. Well, there's other places in the state that are municipal water sources that you can swim at. And we have learned through our research, it's how you got permitted to begin with. A lot of those lakes who are water sources and recreational, they were originally permitted as recreational uses, not water supply. So ours is a water supply lake, but we are working with City Council, with staff, to see, is there a way maybe to approach the state legislature to see, could we have a designated area, like I don't want to say a beach area, but a designated swimming area, because it is a hard sell when you see boats out there with oil, you see, you can boat out there, you can ski out there, but you can't swim. And
so
that is
land
a hard,
in the water anyway.
They do, and that's a really hard sell. And I certainly understand, but there are restrictions. But council has been committed to working with some of our state representatives the next few months to see what would it take, since we were permitted early on, to look at allowing something like that. So we're kind of excited to see where those discussions go. We have talked about Lake Hunt, and what the possibilities would be for Lake Hunt. Lake Hunt may be a little bit easier sell for using it for swimming, just because it is our backup water source. So there are open possibilities, but a lot of it will take maybe some interaction with our state representatives, and they're great to work with. But that is the number one question we get, and I certainly understand and respect that question, because it is a difficult one when you sit and look at it. Well, you can do this, but you can't swim.
Yeah, you can paddleboard and you can do all, I get it. And we actually discussed that day. That always comes up in Leadership Rockingham when we go out to see, here we are on a pontoon boat visiting the plant and the spillway and all the things. And they're like, we don't get it. And I'm like, well, there's a state organization that regulates these things. And yeah, and they went into all that, and it was really helpful. So I'm glad. It's so funny. We are always on the same page. I was going to follow up with that.
Good. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So speaking of water, there's some other budget things, and I know there's some announcements and things coming about the splash pad, because we're going into our second season, which will open Memorial Day weekend. So tell us about how that's going to look.
So we're really excited. The first season of the splash pad, we really didn't have anything to base it off of. So the first season, so much of our equipment, actually all of our equipment, was under the 1-year warranty period. So if anything failed or broke down, we were able to call the contractors to come and repair that, because we were covered by that. Unfortunately, as we go into year 2, those warranty periods, most of them are expired, because typically it's a 1-year warranty period. So as we're moving into year 2, we do see the need that we will have to implement a small fee to utilize the splash pad. And it was free last year, just because we were trying to see what services we could provide, but also so much of our stuff was covered under that 1-year warranty period. And with anything, like when you buy a new car off the lot, hopefully with that 1 year you don't have to make replacements, but over time you do. And so we just need to be prepared for that as the city. As our splash pad starts to age, we need to ensure that we have the proper funding and maintenance to keep it up. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, that you invest in a facility and then you can't maintain that facility. And this is a way for us to ensure we can maintain it in the future. So the fees that City Council have implemented, it is $2 per person. Wednesdays are free. So you can come out any Wednesday. They are always free. We're calling it Wet Wednesday. So please come out. Also, we are looking at implementing a way like a pass for up to 6 people. We're looking at the price council had settled on about $75 a season. Our season for the splash pad opens Memorial Day weekend and closes Labor Day weekend. And the really great thing too about that is holidays are free. So in addition to Wednesdays being free, Memorial Day, July 4th and Labor Day are free as well. So we're really excited about the splash pad. It's a great kind of addition to downtown area. So just really looking forward to where that can go.
So it's funny. I just want to say that I am thankful, so thankful. I heard a lot of those discussions, and a lot of that was set by a previous council when it was being planned. And while the sentiment was good to be able to have something that was free for the residents, it's just not feasible because, again, even in the 1 year period, you had lots of things and lots of issues. And when there's water involved, and equipment involved and kids, I mean, unfortunately, it's just what it is. And there were a lot of issues. And I just think we have such a great facility and such a great location. The ability for people to walk to nearby, the bus, having the bus as an ability to get there. And then, having a pass, that was one of my suggestions that I was like, please consider, especially if you have a family larger than 4. So I love to hear that it's for 6 people, 2 families that can go in on it together. There's just so many thoughts around that. And it's still cheaper than going out of town where people don't have access. The price of your pass is the price for one day, one person to go to a larger water park.
Exactly.
And so and for me as a parent, you have to watch your kids, but there's not the fear of the deep water, right? Like it's just more trying to make them behave and not run, right? And so I just love splash pads because they're great for birthday parties. They're great for gatherings, and they're great for kids to just, be able to have a good time and get wet. And then like you can dip your toe in and cool off a little bit and go back to what you were doing. So I don't know. I hope that people understand and appreciate what a great thing it is to have in a small town, and the work and the thought that has gone into that. So I'm just really grateful for the folks. Your Parks and Rec staff, I mean, they met us out there to see it with Leadership Rockingham. They are very well versed in how it works and what has to happen. Quentin and I had a lot of discussion about it that day while we were on the boat, and all the things about swimming. We brought up the splash pad in addition to that, and we had just been there. So, I'm thankful. I really am.
Thank you for that.
And I'm excited for us to share whatever, when it's time to open, which is soon. So I'm guessing we're going to start seeing some of that.
You will.
And needing to put in the information out. So we're happy to share that too.
Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. Budget wise, we've covered splash pad. We've covered Parks and Rec. We've covered some fun stuff. Let's talk about some of the not so fun stuff. A while back, you and I went over big projects. We talked a lot about how in the city, when you flush a toilet or turn the tap on, you just expect the water's going to come out.
You do.
But it takes a lot of effort, 365 days a year worth, and a lot of staffs and a lot of shifts and a lot of things on the clean water side, on the treatment side, on the waste side, like all of that. And so you guys have a really big undertaking right now. Tell us about that, how the budget's affected, where the utility rate is, and all of those things.
Thank you for that. So one of the biggest things too, when you're looking at a water and sewer fund, is the importance of having a CIP plan, which is a comprehensive improvements plan. And I'm really thankful for City Council for recognizing that need when us as city staff brought that to them. So we're in the 2nd year of our CIP plan. Again, your CIP plan, capital improvements plan, it is looking at what infrastructure do you need, whether it is in meter reading, which you don't think about, water line distribution, sewer line distribution, water plant, sewer plant. It takes all of the capital needs that you are needing and puts that on a 10-year plan. Now, it also looks at debt service that would be rolling on and the expenses for those pump stations, those lift stations, and that helps you determine what your rate may or may not be. And that to me is a great tool because you can easily show anyone that document to show what is coming on each year. I know one of the fears that I've heard a lot with CIP plans is, well, once you adopt it, it's set in stone. And it is not set in stone. You, as a community, city staff, city council, takes that document just like we did this year. You review that document. You see what you're able to accomplish this year. You check it off. You set the priorities of what's suggested for next year in that document. You review it annually with the understanding that document could easily change based on need and necessity. So that is kind of our blueprint that the City of Reidsville is now operating off of for our utility services, because one of the biggest things you do not want to neglect as a community is your infrastructure needs, particularly water and sewer. Water and sewer impacts your residential needs, it impacts commercial needs and industrial needs. And all of those can impact citizens and businesses. So it is crucial for any municipality that provides water or wastewater services to ensure you are outrunning the growth or the needs of your citizens. You never want to get behind where you are just you're not making repairs, or you're just doing the bare minimum to get by. And I'm so thankful for our mayor and city council for understanding that and seeing that, yes, sometimes rate increases, they're hard, but they're necessary to be able to provide safe and quality drinking water to our residents and our businesses.
Well, it's funny that you say that in the way that you do, because I appreciate your grateful heart and your honesty and your transparency about everything. And it's funny that you say that about mayor and council, because there's a couple things I will say about Reidsville historically. We have had some phenomenal city council folks and mayors over the last several decades who have had the foresight, because they proceeded to do things like the drinking supply and then selling said water and drinking supply to Greensboro, and doing things with vision all before national examples of things that have happened, like Flint, Michigan. And it's so interesting. And I didn't dive into that, but I know that that is a really prime example of exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, it's hard because for the longest time, Reidsville had some of the lowest rates in the county. And so when I came, that was a really big deal, right? Because I came back when the original 40% increase happened back in 10, and I came in 2011, and there was just, I was kind of hit in the face with it immediately, like, well, this is what happened. And as I was able to learn and understand, it was more about the communication of it. And you were so eloquent in the way that you put it all together for people to understand on a level down here. And, you know, we talk about the jargon a lot, and we talk about trying to be sure, because I have picked up a lot of the jargon. And so I realize that we need to say, but I need people to understand that not only is it about the foresight, not only is it about being prepared, not only is it about having the maintenance, but the state also regulates your rates and what you were supposed to be doing. And we have discovered that sometimes our neighbors, you know, far and wide, are not necessarily on that path. And Chris Phillips does a phenomenal job of showing those meters and the gauges and what's supposed to happen and why. And I just appreciate it. And, you know, it may not always be well attended in public, but like you said, adapting and having Rockingham Update as a resource, and having Roy to help us put that information out and videos out where people can look back from either city council or special seminars that we've had, has been amazing. And speaking of jargon and special seminars and all the things that you're working on, you have another major project that we are working on to get the information out together. Tell us a little bit about that.
So our lovely Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, and I know people are like, we've heard about this UDO for the last 2 or 3 years. We promise we're trying to get it right. We had some slowdown at the state level, unfortunately, just because there was some bills that were passed about some rezoning and downzoning. So we've had to go back and revisit the UDO. But it kind of came to light back in the fall, like we really need to get it out there more, because you nailed it. And I think you actually came up with the topic for our meeting is jargon, Java and jargon, deciphering and understanding the UDO, because I think we all get so accustomed to acronyms and we understand what the UDO means. But I think we had a breakthrough yesterday in one of our partnership meetings where you come up with the idea about myth versus fact. And I think that is the best way to approach some of this with the UDO is what is myth, what is fact, and how does this impact you as a resident, as a local residential builder, as a commercial builder, as an industrial client, as an industrial builder? How does the UDO impact you? And I think that what we've put together that, in your partnership and some of the ambassadors you have in your program through the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, we're going to have a really good overview of this in September 16th. So everyone go ahead and mark your dates. September 16th from 8:30 till probably around 11:30. So mark those dates, more information coming. It'll be at the Carriage House, but it's a great opportunity for our not just residents, but potential business investors or potential new industrial clients to come and understand why Reidsville is looking at their UDO. And it ties back to the other portion that we did a couple years ago is why place your bet on Reidsville? Place your bet on Reidsville. Why now? And why now for the UDO is because of the growth that we're seeing. And so much of our UDO has not had an overhaul and looked at since the late 80s. It's just been document added on top of document, and it's never been codified into one document. The second part of the need to look at the UDO now, going back to that residential and commercial and industrial development, is some things that maybe people wanted in the 80s, like lot sizes. That's not the trend now that individuals want. A lot of your builders, residential and commercial, they want smaller setbacks. They want smaller lot sizes. They want less density. So that's different than what the need of the communities were back in the 80s. So I think it's great to be able to look at that and ensure that we're growing and we've not put red tape in our UDO that prevents us being a lucrative investment opportunity for residential, industrial, and commercial growth.
I also think, as a final thought, because of course we could talk for hours and hours about all the things, but as a final thought, one of the things in that meeting that we talked about was, again, this is compiling it all together, bringing it up to 2025 forward. But again, it's not set in stone, final, end all be all. It will be revisited and it will be amended just like it's been all these years. But we need a new, fresh starting place where it makes sense. And then as we move forward, those things will continue to happen, because that's never going to not happen. The needs are going to change. We're going to realize there are things. And I believe Jason Harden said yesterday the statistic was there will be the first change in the first year.
Exactly. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out, because that ties just like we said with the water and sewer CIP plan, the capital improvements plan is your UDO. It will change. And as we discussed yesterday, there'll be an amendment within maybe the first 6 months or a year. But it's just, we have to be mindful that we have to visit that document ever so often with the understanding that it will change, and we need to be able to recognize when it needs to be changed.
Well, and I know, again, IT and being transparent, one of the things you want to do is have it online so that anybody can access it, and then it makes it easier. So, well, we are out of time. Is there anything you want to add that we didn't cover?
Just one really quick thing, two quick things if I can. I'll be very quick. I do want to, maybe next month we can talk about customer service, one of the things we're working on at the City of Reidsville, and our phone tree system. So next month I do want to provide our viewers with some updates of how we're trying to convert our phone trees specifically after hours to help with emergencies or non-emergencies, particular with utility outages and or debris damage. So I do want to talk about that next month. So I just want to give a teaser to our residents. We've heard you. We understand. I myself have called. I've had all of our management team call the after hours numbers, and it needs improvement. So we are working on that to provide you quick access to after hours when we're not available. So I look forward to sharing that with you next month. And then the final thought, I just want to remind everyone, reach out to the Chamber of Commerce in reference. We've got a really big night, May 30th at Greensboro. It's Reidsville night at the Greensville Grasshoppers, 6 o'clock. So reach out to the Chamber about tickets and t-shirts. Sooner the better, because I know t-shirts probably should have already been ordered, but reach out. We would love to show a great presence there. But again, sponsored by the City of Reidsville, Reidsville night at the Grasshoppers, May 30th. And just thank you for your time today and your partnership. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I could not be more excited about several of the things that are happening. So, in addition, I'd like to just throw in there that you're going to be one of our panelists and one of our breakout session leaders for our She Means Business Everything Women's Expo. That is a model for the Everything Expo in the fall. So thank you to the city for being a facility sponsor, but also thank you for being individually a part of it, because we can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you for the opportunity so much.
Absolutely. Well, that is it for today's show on the News and Views. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville, 140 South Scale Street, on our website at reidsvillechamber.org and all of our social media channels. Stay tuned and we'll see you soon.